Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Um, I wanted to sort of piggyback and give my 2 cents on a video that I listened to today. I was in the gym working out, and as I often do, I scroll through YouTube and look for lectures or whatever. And I came upon a video that grabbed my attention. Now, let me preface what I'm going to say with this. This is in no way, shape, fashion, or form a refutation, an attack, going after, speaking ill of, anything like that. Our brother, Mufti Muneer, or Muhammad Muneer. This is not, I'll say it again, this is not a refutation. This is not an attack. This is not me going at him. In the video, and I'll explain what the video is, he clearly says, this is my personal opinion. This is my personal opinion. So, when we deal with personal opinions, it's different than how we deal with, Islamic rulings and fatwa and things like this. So this is me just adding my 2 cents, piggybacking, and sort of adding to the conversation. Apparently, it was a Q&A session of the brother, and the question was asked to him: how does he feel, or what was his thoughts about Muslims using the N-word? And I do believe that this was probably an older video. I didn't look at the date. It's probably old, and again, I just sort of stumbled upon it while I was in the gym working out. But he was asked a question about Muslims using the N-word. And I will, again, preface what I'm going to say with this. I personally do not agree with using that word. I personally don't use it myself. Not to say that I've never used it. I mean, I am black. I am African American, so yeah, I've used it. But that's not in my everyday vernacular. That's not my everyday vocabulary. Even if I get angry at somebody that's black, that's not my go-to, word. It's very, very far and few in between that word will come out of my mouth. And normally, or if it does come out, I'm normally quoting somebody else in reference to, this individual said this or this individual said that. So I just want to put that out there. His response was that and I'm just paraphrasing, and you can YouTube or Google the video and you can see for yourself exactly what he said. But just to paraphrase, he said it depends on who the person is. It depends on where they're from and who they are. And I have to say that I disagree with that. Now, most of us know the history of that word. It is a putrid, disgusting, horrid word. And it has a terrible, terrible history. And that word was thrust upon the necks of black people in America of African descent. I don't know of any other group of people. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I personally don't know of any other group of people who take a word that was attached to them by an oppressor and use that word amongst themselves as a term of endearment, as a collective. As a collective. And the N word is pretty much wholly accepted amongst African Americans. You hear it everywhere, especially inner circle. You hear it. And it doesn't even really register. You hear it so much. I don't really know of another people who were oppressed, who were raped, murdered, killed, families disenfranchised, the whole nine, and take a word, that was attached to them by their oppressor, and then turn around and use that word as a term of endearment. I don't know of any. Now, the flip side to that is we have taken that word and it is accepted in our community many times as a term of endearment. And I understand that because I'm a part of that community. I don't use it myself, but I understand it when I hear it. I understand that it's different when a person of African descent says it versus somebody of European descent. It's taken differently. Like I said, there's a history behind that word. So, context and all of that stuff, I fully understand that. I fully understand that. But, and I'm going to give this to you in sociological terms. Sociology is my thing. So in sociological terms, you have what's called in-group and out-group dynamics. It's a very simple concept. Groups that, or intergroup, in-group, are people who have a shared history, a shared culture, shared experiences. They are from the same group. And then you have, obviously, the opposite. Those who are not inside that group, they are from the outside. The inner groups may have behaviors, ways of treating each other, phrases, terms that they use amongst themselves, and it is accepted. It's accepted, right? But someone from the outside who's not a part of that group, who doesn't have that shared history, who doesn't share that culture, who doesn't share some of the daily experiences as a person who's from that group, it's not accepted if they attempt to partake in whatever the in-group is doing. It's not acceptable. And I'll give you an easy example for the brothers. The next time you see a group of women, black women, sitting around amongst themselves using the B word, I want you to join in. Just jump in the circle and call one of them the B word and see what happens. You're going to get slid, and you know it. And I know it. It's going to be a problem. You're going to get drugged probably. They're going to jump you. It's going to be a problem. All right, let me stop. I'm just kidding. I don't want anybody to do that. But I think you get my point. Because that is an in-group expression. It's an in-group thing that they understand that there is no malice behind it. It's a part of what they may experience in their everyday life. So it's accepted amongst them in that group. And you, as an outsider, even though we're talking black women and black men, you are not a part of that in-group, right? You're a part of that in-group that may use the N-word amongst yourselves, but that word specifically is amongst that sub in-group. And it's not permissible. It's not going to be accepted, more than likely, for the average person, the average male, to jump in and just start using that word with those women. Likewise, with people of European descent using the N-word. Personally, I never accept that. I don't care what hood you're from. I don't accept it. And it's because of the history, and it's because of the in-group dynamics. It's because of, we are who we are, and we can't take it on and off like a costume, right? Let me give you another example, and it just popped in my head. If you remember back in the day, there was a rapper. His name was Marky Mark. He's now known as Mark Wahlberg. And he was, the little hip hop cat from Boston or wherever he's from. And he was a culture vulture. I mean, he exploited and that's how he rose to fame, was making rap music and, b-boying and, the posturing and all of that stuff. I just heard a quote from him recently, Um, Somebody asked him about his days as Marky Mark, and he's just like, man, I'm embarrassed and I'm glad I don't do that anymore. So he used it as a costume. My point is, anybody that's not of African descent at any time can disassociate. They can at any time melt back into the dominant group and disassociate themselves with the group that they were just attached to. Whereas people who are innately, they're part of that group. That's who they are. That's part of their master status, maybe. That's a part of their, not acquired status, but, they can't help it. That's who they are. That's, where they were born. That's how they grew up. They can't take it on and off like a costume. They can't take it on and off as situations dictate. That's why I never accept the N word from them. That's my 2 cents. Again, this is not a refutation of Muhammad Muneer. This is not an attack. This is not me coming at him or anything else that I know, people like to kick up dust and cause problems. I'm simply piggybacking on the video that he made about using the N word. And my last little 2 cents. I feel that as Muslims, we should be held to a higher standard. As Muslims, we should be held to a higher standard. There are so many words within the English language that express love and brotherhood and camaraderie than that word that has that terrible history behind it. And I also look sideways at anybody of European descent who feels comfortable using that word, with under the guise of brotherhood or camaraderie, or I'm from the same neighborhood or anything like that. Like I said, there is an entire English language, but you choose to go with the lowest common denominator, the low-hanging fruit. It seems, and maybe it's just me, but it seems that people of European descent who imitate African Americans tend to imitate or enjoy the most negative aspects of us. They seem to enjoy it. They seem to gravitate toward it. But again, it's a costume. They can take it on and off. And I understand that. They can ride in a car amongst themselves and listen to whatever rap song is popular and sing the N-word amongst themselves. But then when they get home amongst their parents or they go back to their school, they're not speaking like that. That's not who they are. So, again, I look sideways at one of them who even has the desire to use that word. Knowing the history, even though we may use it, again, in group dynamics, it's not acceptable for other than us. The same way I wouldn't jump into a group of women and they're using the B word, I would feel comfortable just calling one of them the B word. I mean, that's preposterous. You would look at me like, what is wrong with you? I think it's the same thing. You may agree or you may disagree. Allahu Alam. So I hope everyone, if you have any comments, if you agree or disagree, please feel free to let me know and, piggyback on the conversation. I think it is something that is kind of important. It has a place in conversation. And, I respect the brother's opinion. It's his personal opinion. He is entitled to that. And let it be known that I personally promote his videos. I benefit from his videos. I pass along his videos. So much love to the brother. And I hope everyone has a good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.